I'm sure many of you in the audience know how it feels to love. I, for instance, love the sensation I receive from hearing my friends laugh at my jokes. I love binge-watching Harry Potter till 12 in the morning. I love it when my parents smother me with hugs and kisses. I love it when my teacher congratulates me for finally writing my name in the top corner of my assignments. I love a lot of things. I'm also sure many of you know how it feels to be insecure. It could be the way you look, the way you act, even the way you may struggle in school. Now, I would like to take you viewers back a few chapters in the novel that I have titled My Life. This chapter in particular has no place in the plot diagram we used to make in 6th grade. It is not the rising action, it is not the climax, it is definitely not the resolution. What it is really is an indescribable chapter in my story. I was in 8th grade, still trying to learn the differences between homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures. I was considered pretty well known at my school, and in the past I never really had any issues with how I viewed myself. I had a nice group of friends, decent grades, and the mindset of a determined person. Like any other kid, I was determined to be successful in life. I was determined to hang out with my friends as much as I could. But above all else, I was determined to make a difference. My ultimate goal in life was to make a difference, but I didn't quite know how. I'm Aisha, just Aisha. I soon came to realize that I was boring. I had the ambition, but no talent. Nonetheless, it did not stop me from aspiring to make that difference. I wanted to be a better version of myself, the best version. I wanted to satisfy everyone around me. To sum it up, I wanted to be perfect. Now, being in 8th grade and 13, I was getting to the age where social media was the main source of curing boredom. Instead of playing outside with my friends, I would stay at home and watch videos of people prattling on about their opinions and concerns. But you see, social media has always been a rather confusing area. There were posts and videos telling me to love myself no matter what, but then I had to keep up with the other posts and videos telling me that I had to act or look a certain way. I was confused. I didn't really know what to do. One night, I was sent a message from a schoolmate. My friend informed me that another classmate said that I had gained weight. At first, I just stared. I stared at the message and read it over and over again. I read it until it was stuck in every corner and crease in my body. I turned to my mirror and burst into tears. I didn't want people to think I was fat, nor did I want people to think I was ugly. But most of all, I did not want people to think that I was just Aisha. The same old Aisha I had always been. I wasn't smart, I wasn't pretty. So what exactly was I? I was ashamed. Ashamed of my body and mind, ashamed that somebody had noticed my increase in weight, and ashamed that now I could see it too. I looked in the mirror and saw the rolls of meat attached to my body. I wanted it off. I wanted it all gone. I wanted to look so skinny that you could see nothing but a thin layer of skin covering my bones. And so I changed myself. I began to compare myself with the kids in my class in school. I would point out everything wrong with my body, and I was determined to change it until I liked it. Maybe the difference I needed to make was myself. I needed to change how I looked. I started off by doing those rubbish workouts you find on the internet every day. It made a difference, but not enough. So I skipped meals. I would begin by eating smaller portions of food at lunch, and eventually I just stopped going. I then began to worry about my grades. I was tired of school, but I knew if I wanted to maintain that perfect image, I would need to keep my grades up. Nights before tests, I would stay up very late studying until I believed I got all the materials right. And whenever I didn't get a subjectively good grade, I would cry in my room for hours. I became anxious when it came to handing in work and taking tests. Then came the worrying looks and words from my classmates. My best friend had told me that she was worried for me and that she wanted me to start eating again, but I just shrugged it off and told her that I was fine. This created a toll on our friendship and was the main reason why we began to fight more often. About a month or so after I had started doing these things, more and more people began to notice, and eventually, as you can imagine, word got to my parents. I came home one day to my mom asking me question over question, and I just felt the world blur around me. I wanted to completely isolate myself. I was so angry at everyone. I was angry at my mom, I was angry at my dad, I was angry at my friends, my classmates, my teachers, my schoolmates, the people on social media that told me if I wanted to be pretty, I had to do this, or if I wanted to be skinny, I had to do that. But you know who I was mostly angry at? I was mostly angry at myself. Why was I doing this to my body? Why was I hurting myself? Maybe because it felt good? No, that couldn't be the case. If it felt good, then why do I feel so ashamed? Why do I feel so upset with my body and my mind and the way I act when I'm around people, or the way I speak, or the way I look? How did one small text message, along with the opinions of people I have never even met, affect me so much to the point where I am not eating? And I'll tell you guests that the reason why I was so affected by this message was because of an image social media, the people around me, had helped me create. It was the perfect version of myself, and I thought I could become it. I was delusional. The truth is, no one can be perfect. Perfection is a lie. It is nothing but an unrealistic goal people set for themselves. For the longest time in my life, I thought that to love myself, I must be adored by the rest of the world, and no matter how much I hate admitting it, I thought that getting the good grades and the pretty face would lead me to loving myself. And you know what makes this even sadder? It's the fact that I'm one of masses and masses and masses of teenagers that do not feel deserving of love, especially from themselves. Recently, I sent out a survey to the students and teachers of grades 7 to 9 at my school. In this survey, I asked 4 simple questions. Question number 1, do you find yourself physically attractive? Question number 2, do you feel pressured by how society views you? Question number 3, do you feel that societal pressure affects the way that you view yourself? And question number 4, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love yourself? Now, before I give you all the results from my experiment, I would like to ask you all to answer these questions yourself. Don't be scared, be truthful, be honest with yourself. It's solely just a few questions. Question number 1, do you find yourself physically attractive? 2 out of 20 said yes, 12 out of 20 said sometimes, and 6 out of 20 said no. This tells us that over 60% of students in grades 7 to 9 do not know how they feel in regards to their physical appearance. The second question, do you feel pressured by how society views you? 10 out of 20 said yes, 8 out of 20 said sometimes, and 2 out of 20 said no. The third question, do you feel that societal pressure affects the way that you view yourself? 10 out of 20 said yes, 8 out of 20 said sometimes, and 2 out of 20 said no. Finally, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love yourself? The overall average was 5.68. Now, I do not know how each person answered these questions, but this survey really made me wonder if I actually know my classmates and teachers. Previously, I had asked you all to answer these questions yourself. Now take a look around. Look at your friends, teachers, classmates, students, family members, even strangers. All of these people who you may think you know could have answered these questions completely differently than how you had first assumed. This survey is just a small example of the many teachers and students that feel this way. This survey has taught me that it's really hard to love yourself because obviously the students in my class and teachers showed you the results. Now, although my talk is on self-love, the results of one question in particular struck my interest. It was the majority of people that felt societal pressure affects the way they view themselves. And then it got me thinking, what if society stopped judging others? What if, as a community, instead of tearing each other down, we would lift each other up? Wouldn't it be so much easier to love yourself? In a society like today's, people, especially teenagers, have trouble expressing as to why they feel little love towards themselves, and when they do, they're judged because of it. It may take someone an immense amount of bravery to come up to you and tell you their negative feelings towards themselves. And for some people to just say, "Oh, you're pretty, you shouldn't be complaining," is the exact reason why these people may never mention it to anyone, ever, again. I feel like society needs to change. We need to work on becoming better versions of ourselves and supporting others instead of bringing each other down. I remember on days when I didn't feel necessarily good in my body, I would make mental notes. I would tell myself to choose one thing I like about myself. Even if the things I didn't like outnumber the things that I did like, I tried to think on the positive side. Now, I know my teacher listening to this right now is probably wondering, you are not positive, you don't think positively. You're dull and dim and blah, blah, blah. But although I am, as she would say, a teenager, I do believe that sometimes a little positivity can go a long way. And with time, I began to change myself. I started to eat again. I started to pressure myself less when it came to school, and I managed to redeem my friendship with my best friend. I created a bond with my body. This bond is imperfect, to say the least, but it has helped me change my perspective on self-love. This bond has taught me that being just Aisha was not an issue. Everyone is nothing but just themselves. I mean, look at Harry Potter. He thought that he was just Harry, but ended up becoming one of the greatest wizards of all time. Despite almost dying in literally every book, he still made it out alive. I'm not saying you need to fight dementors or free house elves from their evil masters, but I am saying you are so much more than you think you are, and you are capable of changing the world, even though you don't always feel like it. Now, I would like to leave you all with one last thing. The words of a very wise person, my brother. While I was writing the script for this very TED Talk, I had asked my brother which quote I should add in the end of my speech. And to that, he said none. Instead, he told me to say this: life has its ups, its downs, and all those thingies. Just live your life the way you want to. Thank you.